Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new elite family of woods and irons from Callaway.
Plenty of guys come out on tour with credentials from the amateur and college ranks. There aren't many, though, who bring buzz. Rickie Fowler did. He was different, not so much in what he said, but how he looked. Orange Theory, boy band hair, the buggy whip swing. People loved him, kids especially. Charisma gives an athlete a shortcut to stardom, and Rickie took it. Entrepreneurial, clever, made a fortune in endorsements. Has not yet won a major, but he's been a good player, though not great. Gutsy win at the Players in 2015, the biggest of his 6 PGA Tour titles. Rickie still matters to fans. He is 4th among all players in social media followers, behind Spieth, McIlroy, and Tiger. So Rickie is now 35 years of age, and you wonder what more he might do in the game. And with that, we bring in Damon once again from the Cognizant Classic at the Palm Beaches, where Rickie is teeing it up starting tomorrow. Damon?
Rich, and Rickie Fowler has some wonderful memories here at PGA National. Won the Cognizant Classic in 2017 by 4 shots over Gary Woodland and Morgan Hoffman. He has 4 top 10 finishes in 14 starts here at the Cognizant Classic. I spoke to Rickie earlier about where he's going and where he's been.
It's great to be here. One, being at home, sleeping in my own bed, and no, this has been a good golf course for me. I love the challenge that it kind of puts in front of you. Like you said, I've played well here quite a few times, and with a win. It doesn't feel like the win has been that long ago, but yeah, and with where I feel like the game has been and where I'm heading, I feel like I'm in a good spot and trending in the right direction. This is a place that you really can't let up. You have to be on top of it. There's not really many holes that are just, wouldn't say gimmies or anything, but you have to stay on top of your stuff the whole time out here.
Mid-30s can be a time of reflection. 6 wins, the Players, multiple President's Cups, multiple Ryder Cups. You've won a couple times on the DP World Tour. When you look big picture, have you exceeded your expectations? Maybe wish you had done a little more in the first half of your career? How would you describe the first part of your professional golf career?
Well, it depends. If you ask me in current spot, I want more. But if you asked me when I was 8, 9 years old, the dream was to play on tour and to win. So obviously took care of that and continued on. We have some great things that are on the resume, but like I said, in current situation, you always want more. But it's definitely been a fun ride and a lot of very cool and special memories.
What's more look like for you?
It all kind of lines up in the win column. More wins. And yeah, that's why we're out here. We're all trying to compete and get in contention, hold trophies come Sunday afternoon or night.
Yeah, Rickie Fowler no longer the 20-something who's putting his arms around the world. Said he's very happy being married, wife Allison, sleeping in his own bed this week, taking his daughter Maya to school. They have a younger daughter Nellie as well. So clearly in a transition phase in his life, no longer the dirt bike kid from Southern California. Now he's in the middle of his career, Rich, but clearly hoping for something special down the road.
It's a different stage. Damon, last time Rickie contended at a major championship was the U.S. Open of 2023 at LACC North. He opened in 62. He ended up finishing in a tie for 5th. What's your sense as to what more he might do?
It feels far away, much farther away, Rich, than it did in 2014 when he had the 4 straight top 5 finishes in major championships. Of late, he has 1 top 5 finish, you mentioned, at the Los Angeles Country Club in his last 20 major championship starts. It almost feels like he's a player who would maybe need to pull a Darren Clarke, maybe kind of coming out of nowhere in this era of Scotty Scheffler, in this era of Xander Schauffele, not to mention Rory McIlroy, who's been pining for a major championship for more than a decade. It feels far away, much more farther away than it did a decade ago for Rickie Fowler, but we know that a golf career can extend late into the 30s and sometimes into the early 40s, as it did for Darren Clarke, who broke through many, many moons ago.
You think about scenarios that would move the meter in 2025. Jordan Spieth contending, winning a major championship. Rickie Fowler as well. Damon, thank you as always. Let's bring back Tripp Eisenhower. And Tripp, how do you assess what Rickie's done and what more he might achieve?
Yeah, career-wise, I would say Rickie would clearly tell you he's underachieved. He needed to win more, no question about it, with the talent, especially when he breaks out and you have 2014, where Damon mentioned top 5 finishes in all 4 majors. The only other 2 players at that time to do that were guys named Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. Of course, they went on to win majors when they did it in that season. But then he goes back in 2015, Rich, and he has those 2 wins. And then a couple of years later, he has, he wins the Players. And you're just thinking, now we're finally seeing Rickie Fowler do what we always thought he could do. And then he struggled. And, a couple of wins since then. The win to get back after that long drought when he won at the Rocket Mortgage, that was one that was so relieving for him, because when you go to the bottom of the game, Rich, it's so hard to dig yourself back out. And Rickie did that. And again, it's like one of those things where you think good things are going to continue to happen from there. And then he struggled last year, only one top 10 on his season last season. But I think that Rickie still got the talent to do it. I know he works very hard. There's no question about that. And sometimes the working hard is something that you've got to balance and maybe work less and work smarter in the right areas. And I think that could be the recipe for him. But maybe it's so much as just, instead of just the laboring, enjoy the process, enjoy what you're doing, and just really go about playing golf with a ton of gratitude. And sometimes that's the thing that can open that talent to its fullest potential.
Yeah, I think
there's no question he's got it.
Yeah. Beginning tomorrow, Rickie's out at 7:40 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday. This is a good one with Russell Henley and the aforementioned Jordan Spieth. Look now at the course conditions presented by the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America. It's a challenge. It's all about the water and the wind. Part of 71, not overly long, a little bit more than 7,100 yards. Trip, so much focus on the bear trap. You think other parts of the course are worth highlighting? Where do you want to go?
Well, look, the bear trap does get all the attention because it's late in the tournament. There's no question about it, and it's determined this championship many, many times, and it will be pivotal in this year's championship, just like every single year. But there's a part that if you don't get through it, Rich, you may never get to have a chance to win this tournament. And look at this. This is 5, 6, and 7, and it's the same deal. It's 2 difficult par 3s and an even harder par 4 than 16. 6 is way harder than 16 as a par 4, and you can see it actually is tougher than the bear trap. So if we take a look at these holes, let's just take a look at what these players face. Starting at the 5th hole. Now, this hole's typically downwind out of the right. The wind's usually blowing over your right shoulder for a right-handed player, and that's pushing anything that gets turning on that wind towards that water. 217 yards. This was the 4th most difficult hole last year. And then if you're lucky enough to write down a 3, you stroll over to 6T. Now, this is a par 5 for the members, but not for the PGA Tour players. This hole's typically back into the wind, slightly out of the left, and that's what makes this hole so challenging. 479, usually into a 15, 20-mile-an-hour breeze. That's a demanding par 4. Very narrow fairway to hit. You hit it in that right rough, it's hard to get to this 2-tiered green, and their lower left hole location's a very difficult one to get at, so very few 3s are written down at 6. And then you come over to 7. This is the 5th most difficult hole on the golf course at 226 yards, right to left wind. And those that back hole location's typical hard to get one chasing back in there. So, Rich, the only thing this 3-hole stretch doesn't have is a name. We've got the bear trap. How about the bear claw or the hair of the bear? Or why don't we come up with a name? I like the hair of the bear. What do you think?
It's yours, brother. Run with it and stamp it. By the way, Tripp almost won this tournament a few years back. Tripp, excellent work. We appreciate it as always.